Hi, I'm Tony Fleming, and this is Fleming's Ultimate Garage. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on today's video, which may be the best Mustang we have ever had. Let me just tell you something. Not only has it got a gazillion hours tied out of it, not is it over like 125,000 hour restoration, it's got 2 full pages of window sticker for the car. We have a 3-inch binder of receipts for it. Probably will take me 4 hours to do the video as we walk around here, or I could just shut up and walk off and you can look at it yourself. Anyway, let me just go over a couple things with you. I don't want to wear you out. I want you to just look at this thing. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to read a little bit off the window stickers because I can't remember everything that's on here. I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. But we are going to start with the paint and body, because the paint and body on here is in the $20,000 range. And you say, well, gosh, Don, how does it get to a $20,000 range for paint and body? Well, if you're going to do a car to be show quality, all right? For instance, this is the way I vision that if Shelby was building this car like this today, just like he had redone his Cobras and the Daytona Coupes and things like that, that he gets, you know, 154, all right? If he was going to do a GT350R like this model is, the race version, right? I envision this is the way he would do it. So you could pick your colors of whether you wanted it Wimbledon white with blue stripes, or you wanted Guardsman blue with white stripes, or you wanted in the GT350 Hertz color combination, which I just think is spectacular looking. I've always loved this. And this is done in the R version as well. So we're gonna look at things like the plexiglass rear window, the rear seat delete, where the spare tire would go, the full roll cage that's in here. But anyway, let's start with the paint first, and it's Raven Black paint. And I want you to come on up here, and I want you just to see this for a second, because you don't need to look at this piece right here. Just look inside the paint right there, and you can read everything. Look at that. You can see what time it is. This is amazing. And then on top of it, it's clear coated. So the body's sanded down to bare metal, all new metals put in place. Then they go ahead and seal it, lay the first coats of black on, wet sanded, some more black, wet sanded. Then they go ahead and put on the gold, all right? And they wet sand that as well. And then they go ahead and clear the whole car so that you don't even feel the stripes on the car, so that you can wash and wax the car for the next 20 years if you want, and not worry about these stripes tearing and breaking apart, okay? The hood pins, obviously those. Upgraded driving lights here. The R front bumper, okay, for special cooling. Inside here are certain things you can't even see. The detail on this car is spectacular. For instance, it has an electric fan on this side as well. This also has an intercooler, okay, but it's a liquid-cooled intercooler, all right, for the supercharger system. It's just amazing. When you see this stuff as we walk around, you're gonna go, wow, man, this thing is incredible. This right here will be the #1 YouTube video that we have ever, and Arsh is gonna guarantee that for us today, because he said he's gonna put in so much effort, all right, to make sure that you get some good video instead of the normal stuff that he does, that you're gonna be really proud of him, okay? All right, so we're gonna start with a couple things that make it very interesting. All right, so these rims here, you say, well, those are very interesting rims, but I've seen them before. Well, you may have seen them before, but you've never seen them done custom. So these are custom built for this car with the right offset, okay? Look how beautiful the fit is in here. Well, the inside of the fender is welded on the inside instead of having a lip, so that the tire doesn't rub the inside of the fender. It's a beautiful job. You have to see the amount of time that's put in here, all right? These are made by Vintage Wheel Works, all right? And these are 245 45s on the front here, 17s, all right? And the reason they're 17s is not because he wanted a big wheel and tire, it's because the brakes are so big. A 16-inch wheel wouldn't allow the whole braking system to fit inside there. You can see the big Wilwood calipers in there. You can see the venting of the special rotors that have been applied, all right? And then when we get to the front end here, I want to show you the steering system in here, because the old steering system is gone. Not even remotely the same, and it's very expensive, and the fact that it's in the car changes the whole dynamics of the whole thing anyway. Plus this car is pretty stiff, right? Stiff so that you can drive this car on the track if you wanted to. This is a perfect car for a vintage race day. If you want to take this car vintage racing, you're going to need to learn how to drive it a little bit, because it's got a lot of power and you just can't like floor it on every corner, all right? You have to learn how to drive it a little bit. But that's the great thing about it, is you won't get bored of this car in a month or 2 months or 6 months or a year. It's going to take you quite some time. to get bored of it. All right, so come on back here. We got the side exit exhaust. Now listen, there's a couple modifications we can make to the car if you wanted to, and use, because some people forget to ask, and because we can pretty much do anything to a car. If you wanted to, this is the original style for the R versions that would have exited right there. We can also run that right out the back if you want. Do like a GT style balance panel back there if that's what you wanted. But that's up to you. Let us know, whatever, okay? But what I wanted to point out was the amazing fit and finish of the body, the quality of the paint. All right, back here, I want to look at the size again real quick. So these are 275s back here. Again, this has slotted rotors, four-wheel disc brakes. Got a Ford 9-inch rear in the back here. This is the plexiglass windows that would have come in the R version, all right? And you say, well, that's a big deal, Tony, you put in plastic windows. Whoa, stop, don't even try it. To take the other system out that came from the factory and put it in here cost me almost a couple $1,000s, because it is an enormous amount of work to get all that done. And you gotta buy the kit for the inserts, this stuff gets riveted in. It is a lot of work. The rear window here, check this out, come on up. This is bad to the bone. This plexiglass window right here, all right, is vented. See how you can see inside there? All right, to let the air escape, to let the driver have some air while they're driving, when they were racing the cars back in the day. And people say, well, aren't you going to get rain in there? No, because if the rain comes down, it can't go back inside the car. It just runs down the window. So that's all. That's what's going on right there. All right, and we keep walking around here. New stainless bumpers, got this great GT350 call out there and on there. Even little stuff like the tag light works. You say, well, what's the big deal about a tag light? Well, the tag light can require complete wiring from the front to the back to start all over. This car has all brand new wiring, all right? Just really nice. Okay, so as we're looking underneath this car here, so out went the old steering box, in goes rack and pinion, the same kind of rack and pinion you get in today's modern car. All right, a complete Heidts front end system. So the old front end of this car, the entire suspension, cross members, all of those things are gone. They've been thrown out because they flex, they weaken, they do things that don't make for a great handling and driving car. This car here has now replaced that with this brand new system. Coilovers, gas shocks, big heavy duty control arms. You can see the pivot points are huge here, plus the rack in its place. It's all adjustable. Look at this powder coated frame that comes all the way up to here. All right, this is all part of a system of the car. By the time you're done all this can be a $5,000 piece just for this front end here and the labor to put that in. All right, I wanted to spend a little time underneath here because you need to see, this is a car with 2 frames in it. You say, what do you mean it's got 2 frames in it? Relax, okay, breathe. It's got 2 frames. Here's how it works. This is a unibody car, so the frame is inside the body of this car, right? You hear that? All right, the frame is inside there. Then an exoskeleton has been welded in as well. So you look at this whole piece here. Look at any other Mustang, you won't see all of this in here, okay? Because this is custom. So what it's done is stiffened the car up twice as hard. Now, look at these new floor pans. They're painted gloss black, wet sanded, buffed, and waxed so that you can see everything in here that's brand new. Stainless steel fuel lines, the exhaust system, okay? Look at the size of the exhaust pipes in here. We're talking about a lot of power, okay? And you have to be able to get it to the ground and get rid of it. Obviously the exhaust, the rear end, the rear suspension, which we're headed back to next. And then when we look at the rear suspension, you're gonna see how the rear end is tied in place so it doesn't move around either. The idea behind this car is that it is a modern supercar in a vintage body, in the sense that its structure is solid, it handles like a dream, and it looks cooler than anything else going down the road. Plus the sound of the supercharger under the hood is like just wicked. I mean wicked. All right, come on, let's go check out the back. All right, so as we wander down the underneath of this car and spend some time under here, if there's $5,000 spent in the front end, there's probably $8,000 spent underneath, you know, doing the frame, floor pans, painting, all that stuff underneath. Another $5,000 spent in the rear end. I'm gonna show you where that all is. So check this out. Got Koni coilovers with adjustments in there for ride height, all right? All right, these are special shock absorbers right here, okay? To allow the rear to rotate just a little bit because of the force of the engine, which would do that, the power, so it's not so hard and shocking on the body and upset it at the track if you wanted to take it to the track. And although this car has reportedly never been to the track, it'd be kind of cool to see what it can do. But anyway, so that's there. So you have the SVO, Special Vehicle Operations rear end here. Everything in it's heavy duty. Look at the size of the sway bar hanging down, okay? And even things like this right here, like these billet pieces that hold the brake lines in place. It's all just little tiny things that all add up. The rear end is held in at the top, it's held in on here, it's held in over there, and every place in between is just super solid. This is the fuel cell here that's welded into the car, okay? And it's painted as well as the rest of the body. And just, I'm looking at everywhere, everything is metal, all the effort and work that have gone in here. And the cool thing about it is when we got it, there wasn't a lot of rubber up in here, because a lot of times we'll get cars and people have, you know, been doing burnouts and things like that. I think this car really just spent some time in somebody's garage because the underneath is just absolutely immaculate and beautiful. And that's why I wanted to spend the time kind of showing you all of this stuff. Okay, cool. All right, so let's check out the trunk too. All right, so check this out. Look how beautiful this is. This is powder coated black to match. Everything's wet sanded and buffed. You guys should feel just the paint in here alone, all right? Fuel cell, instead of just having a fuel cell in here, this is the reason this is nice is because instead of having just a gas tank, inside the fuel cell is foam that suspends the gas, okay? The fuel that's in there. So if there was an accident or something like that, these don't leak all over the place. They keep the fuel inside there. But this also has a fuel gauge. A lot of people put a fuel cell in and they never put a fuel gauge, they just use the odometer, but this has an actual gas gauge in the car, which is really, really nice, okay? Now all powder coated in here, all new wiring in here, okay? And you want this kind of fitting, okay? This isn't a fitting with a clamp on it, this is an AN fitting that goes in the tanks because the fuel system itself is pressurized. And the reason it's pressurized is because the car is fuel injected and requires more pressure in there, just like a modern car would have versus a carbureted car, okay? Okay, let's take a peek under the hood for a second. Okay, whoa. All right, this is what we got here. What we got here is serious business. All right, so we start with a 351 Sportsman block. So that's a racing block just to start with, okay? So we already know it's gonna make a lot of power because it's designed for high horsepower applications, so it's very strong underneath. Then we throw in fuel injection, all right? Then we throw in supercharging, okay? And then we throw in intercooling as well. So we have, not only is it supercharged, okay, it goes through a liquid to air intercooler, then into the fuel injection system, all right? And then everything is plumbed inside there. And it works so well. Its drivability is spectacular, and fuel injection really is one spectacular piece of equipment. But fuel injection and a lot of horsepower is not enough, all right? So this car here has a dyno sheet of around 400 and let's just say 80 horsepower, all right? That's at the rear wheels, all right? When you buy an engine from somebody, they don't do it at the rear wheels, they do it at the crankshaft, so you always have to add 15% for what they call parasitic loss, meaning through the transmission, through the rear end, to the rear wheels, you're going to lose some power from the engine because of those ancillary products. So most people add 15% to that. This puts it at a minimum of around 550 horsepower. Remember that this car in 1965 came with like 306 horsepower originally as a regular GT350, and then with a supercharger a little bit more, but we're talking about 550 horsepower. This is a 3,200 pound car, or maybe somewhere around 3,000 pounds. It is fast, all right? Throw in the TKO 600 transmission, all right? TKO 600 transmission, so you have the 5-speed, all right, with this backed up, and then you have the 8.8 SVO rear end with 410 gears, so you can have the higher ratio 410 gears because you have the 5-speed, so you can drive this car on the highway. I've driven out there, it drives absolutely beautiful going down the road. The only problem with this car going down the road is everybody wants to do this, and if you're cool with that, it's a great car to have. If this bothers you, then I'd say only drive it late at night when no one will see you. That's all I can say. Anyway, come on in, I want to show you a couple other big things. First off, this is the largest radiator module I've ever seen. The standard radiator for these cars, the cutout, is right here, okay? This is almost 50% bigger radiator in here, as well as electric fans. And you can see the plumbing done in here, and even like this piece where it's cut out, has a piece of trim on it. And then the fresh air comes in here, it takes the cold air from inside the fender down there, air comes in, serpentine belt system, everything is sealed. It's got the intercooler there to fill the intercooler back. It also has an electro-hydraulic brake system too, which is cool because there's not enough room in here. and you don't want to rob vacuum from the engine to have power disc brakes. So this has a special cylinder system set up in the car. The braking system was like $3,000 just for this setup to have power brakes, because the customer wanted to have power brakes in this car. So you can clearly see how these things are starting to add up. The drivetrain engine combination right here with the transmission and rear end has to be over $20,000. Okay, minimum 20,000, maybe closer to the 30 mark by the time you build everything by hand and do what you need to do with the transmission, with the rear end, tying it all in and what have you. So you can clearly see that this is a spectacular, spectacular car. It's got a transmission cooler right here as well. Check that out. So it's designed to go do some things on the road. It's never really been there. I think that the client that built it just wanted to build the very best car he could build and just wanted to take it to shows and things like that. I would love to see somebody buy this car, take it to a vintage race and drive around the track and just to see the smile on your face inside your helmet. You know, get a helmet cam or something like that. I think you'd be hearing yourself giggle the entire time as you're hitting each one of those apexes, okay? All right, so one of the pieces I wanted to show you is here's another strengthening piece that runs across the whole back of the car, keeping the wheel wells from flexing. Remember, these are unibody cars, so they weren't like super stiff chassis. And so this adds a whole other element. So you have the underneath exoskeleton, you have this piece right here, then we have an entire roll cage put in this car to go ahead and strengthen the entire rest of the vehicle as well. So when you talk about super stiff, that's exactly what we're talking about here, all right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get inside our cockpit here. All right, so here's what I did. I kind of left the seatbelt system in place. You don't need this piece. These right here flip behind the seat if you want to. I'm just gonna move them out of the way for right now, okay? So don't panic, don't panic. Don't everybody get panicky, okay? And this is really all you need is a lap belt system here. And it's very easy to use. You just put it on like this, and the other piece just clips to it and folds over. It's like a regular seatbelt. It just doesn't plug in. The nice thing about it though, is that it's a lot wider, so it doesn't cut into you and what have you, okay? All right, so these seats here, total sport seats. So look at the, take a second and look at the support that you're gonna get in here from your thighs, your hips, and your shoulders to keep yourself in place so you're not moving around the car if you wanted to take this to the track. You wanna be sitting in your seat doing what you're supposed to do. This does have a nice feature on it, and it's tilt wheel, okay? So the seats can be lowered or raised if you wanted to. It also has tilt wheel to get the wheel where you want, and I love this wheel. It's my favorite wheel in the entire world. It's a Motolita wheel, and it's just iconic. Like, look at this thing. It's just beautiful. All right, this also has the Shelby gauges here as well, all right? And it's showing 423 miles on it since it's been done. And you can see that the roll bar, although is extensive throughout the whole car, okay? And it goes all the way to the front end, all the way down to there, to stiffen the car a whole nother place. The great thing is it's not obtrusive, it's not in your way. You can step in and step out. You can go to dinner with your wife in this car, right? And she'll never know the sheer power of what it is, and you don't have to tell her. That's up to you. Although it may be the wife buying the car, and she doesn't have to tell you. All right? Okay. 8,000 RPM tach, 160 mile an hour speedometer. We talked about a fuel gauge. What's the big deal about a fuel gauge? Well, most cars like this do not have fuel gauges. This does. It's been designed to be driven. This is Carroll Shelby's real signature on this real car, and I honestly feel like if he was building this car today, he would build it just like this and make it so that it's a spectacular, spectacular piece. The battery's behind the rear seat here. This has a battery cutoff switch where I can turn the entire car off if I want to. So if I'm worried about somebody stealing it, or I can leave it on, all right? It's just fabulous. All right, how about I go ahead and start it for you? The nice thing about it is with the fuel injection system, you don't have to pump the gas, you don't do anything. You just go ahead and turn the key. Listen to that whistle, man. That is so bad. All right, and backing up all that power, you know, a TKO 500 transmission is what you're going to need to deliver it without parts failing every shift. You know, regular standard 5-speed, even out of a 6-speed out of today's modern car, might not be able to handle this, and that's why the upgraded parts are put in here. You want to make sure it gets all the way to the rear wheels. The list of stuff that I'm running down is like the who's who of a Hollywood party. I mean, seriously, keep on going down. Flowmaster exhaust, the R model, plexiglass rear windows, side windows, and all that stuff. I mean, listen, man, this is one of those times where you could say never, because you're always supposed to say never. I'm telling you, you are never going to run into this same car ever again in your lifetime. You could go to 5,000 car shows and you will never see a car as bad as this and as well built as this. Anyway, if you could find a way to get the coolest Mustang in your life in your garage, this is the one. Call, don't wait, don't do it yourself. Don't do anything other than find a way to get this car in your life, man. Anyway, call us 301-816-1000. We'll tell you all about this 65 Mustang GT350 Pro Touring Bad A.